Another super important point as far as the breathe up goes and maximizing breath hold is submerging your face in water. Obviously, this is only possible if you have a snorkel, but you will notice that your breath hold dramatically increases anytime you're in water, submerged in water. I mean, if you just do your max breath hold on land and then do it in a pool, you'll see you could add at least 30 seconds, maybe even a minute on. Why? This is because you're triggering the mammalian dive reflex, which is a whole host of physiological changes that help us to hold our breath underwater much longer. Why do we have this reflex? Some people say it's because we have our sort of fetal stage, and so we're spending the beginning of our life submerged in water. There's other people who really hold to this idea of the aquatic ape theory, our origins as being a very water-centric species living by coastal places and spending a lot of time fishing, wading, diving for fish, that kinds of things, and this being one of the big adaptations that allowed us to thrive there. But regardless, this response, this sort of physiological change is super important to trigger if we are going to be trying to maximize our breath holds and our diving ability. So breathing up, always put your face into the water and keep your snorkel up and just do your relaxation breathing that way rather than having your face out of the water and breathing up. This will give you a little bit of an edge there. This is going to actually help to, so I'll just break down what the response or sort of the changes in that mammalian dive reflex are. So your heart rate is going to slow. This is primarily triggered by this, the face being in the water. You've got these facial nerves, and so when you put your face in the water, you're sensing that you're about to do, you're going to have to hold your breath, and this helps you to lower your heart rate. The lowering of heart rate can also be triggered by high levels of carbon dioxide. So as you're holding your breath further in the dive, your O2 is dropping, your CO2 is building up. That's going to further slow your heart rate. And then this high carbon dioxide is going to lead to the two other main effects of the mammalian dive reflex that are super important. So we have the spleen effect, which is essentially the contraction of the spleen and the release of new red blood cells. These red blood cells are going to help to carry oxygen throughout the body. So basically your body's interpreting that you are holding your breath and you need help with distributing oxygen throughout your body. So the spleen contracts, and all of a sudden you can have up to 5% increase in red blood cells. So that's pretty freaking cool. There's actually I've actually heard this through the grapevine, so I need to do a little more research. But the Bajau tribe, as I think it's called, in the Philippines, are people who live like right on the sea, and supposedly they have these like super spleens, which are twice the size of our spleens. And so these spleens and the release of all the extra blood cells actually helps them to do these ridiculous breath holds. The people at the school told me that some of these people can hold their breath for 6 to 7 minutes while they're looking for fish. And the final main effect of the mammalian dive reflex is this peripheral vasoconstriction, which is basically blood shunting from your appendages, from your feet, your hands, your arms, to all the super vital organs, everything sort of moving back into the core to help preserve what is most important. So again, the face in the water, which we're going to do during our breathe up, is super important because that, the facial nerve will help lower the heart rate at the very beginning. And then once we dive, the CO2 builds up. That triggers these other factors of the mammalian dive reflex, being the spleen effect, releasing extra blood cells, and then the shunting of blood to our vital organs. But it also is going to help slow our heart rate as well. So all those factors triggered by these sort of environmental cues are going to trigger this mammalian dive reflex, and that's going to help us to maximize our ability to hold our breath and dive as deep as possible.